Hey guys, it's Brandon. I wanted to go over a game that I played yesterday on Chess Cube. I wasn't recording for live blitz or anything. It was a 5-minute game, and it didn't last very long. It lasted 17 moves, and my opponent didn't violated a major rule in the opening, maybe even a couple major rules actually, which is when he played the way he did. And I just wanted to show you an example of what can happen when you violate rules like that. So I was white, and I started out with 1 e4, which is unusual for me because I usually don't play e4 because I'm not confident against the Sicilian. I played d4, but I've been studying e4 a little bit and trying it out, And so my opponent played d5, the Scandinavian or center counter defense. He takes d, queen takes d5, now knight to c3. So the thing about the Scandinavian defense is, you sort of clarify the center, you dissolve a d pawn for an e pawn, and we have an open, semi-open d and e files now. And but you lose a tempo when the knight comes out to hit the queen. And usually the standard theory move is to play queen here to a5, so that if you want to move this d6 pawn, it'll be pinning the knight. So for example, if you play this, if you want to free the bishop classically along this classical diagonal here, once you do so, this knight is then pinned to the king, and maybe this bishop can come down here and add some extra pressure to the knight. But that's the mainline theory. What my opponent played instead after knight c3 is queen to e6 check, which is just pretty comfortably met by bishop to e2, developing a piece and blocking the check. There's no bishop coming out to put extra pressure on it or anything like that. And so now my opponent plays c6. Why, I have no idea. It puts a bind on the d5 square, but it takes away his best development square from his knight, and there's nothing going on really in the center. I see no particular reason to do that. So we'll just get some development here. Knight f3, h6, just preventing knight g5. But he's not doing anything with the center, and he's not getting his pieces out. All of his pieces are still sleeping on the back rank, and this is sort of a theme here. Castles, followed by knight f6, rook to e1. So lining the rook up against the queen here on an open file. So if this bishop were to move away, it's in an opportune moment to go pretty much anywhere, where it was attacking a piece or something, this queen would be exposed to fire. So he has to spend a tempo moving the queen away. So he plays queen to d7, d4, getting a pawn in the center, e6, freeing up the bishop, just getting pieces out, bishop to e3, bishop to e7, bishop to c4. Okay, I lost the tempo having to play bishop to e2, but no big deal. I thought the bishop looked good on this diagonal. Here. Turns out I should have just moved it to d3. I'm not sure why I didn't, but it ended up back there in a couple moves. But in any case, he plays castles, and now look at this, knight e5. Another tempo move on the queen, getting my knight to this nice e5 square. There's no d pawn to chase away, and in order for the f pawn to chase away, I'll have to move this knight out of the way. And what does he play? He plays queen to d8. So let's take a look at the situation. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, all of these pieces on the queen side sleeping, doing nothing. And after queen to d2, I'm completely developed. All of my pieces are developed. I mean, you could argue that this rook here is only half developed, but they're connected, they're on open files. I have complete control of the center with the exception of the d4 square. All of my pieces are on good squares, good diagonals, and just a beautiful position for me. And meanwhile, all of his pieces are doing nothing. And now here, my opponent makes a blunder. I'll give you guys 5 seconds in the style of Casey to find the worst move on the board, which is the one my opponent happens to make. Of all the moves he'd possibly make, I think he made the worst one on the board. So I'll give you guys 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give yourself credit if you found g5. Quite possibly the worst move on the entire board, with the possible exception of Oops. With the possible exception of, queen here, just to be taken by the knight. But, I mean, even that may not be as bad, because after g5 allows a pretty comfortable bishop sacrifice here, queen to g5 check, and the game is essentially over at this point. The only thing he can really do to stay in the game at this point is to give up material. I mean, he plays king. He sort of doesn't play this accurately, but I think he knew it was over at that point. King to h7 is what he played, which allows bishop d3 check. King to h8 is the only move, and then queen to h6 check. And I guess he could have stayed in the game a little longer if he had played king to h8. But if king to h8, then it's pretty easy to see that just, something like rook here to here is going to be made pretty quick, and there's very few ways to stop it, without just getting back a ton of material. Anyway, he played knight h7, knight blocks h7, but then queen takes h7 is mate. So that was 17 moves, and just sort of blew him off the board. And what do I attribute it to is the fact that he brought his queen out and wasted 4 moves with the queen. Well, okay, maybe queen takes d5 wasn't a waste, but queen e6 check, a waste, because it's met with bishop here, and then after rook to e1, now queen gets another wasted move, going back to d7, not doing anything for his position, and then d4, bishop to e3, and then here, knight to e5, hitting the queen again. The queen is all the way back here on d8, doing absolutely nothing. And look at these dummies. They didn't get out for the entire game. They just sat there, looking across the board as the slaughter came in. So, hope you guys got something out of that and learned why it's important to play accurately if you're going to play the Scandinavian, not to get your queen kicked around, and focus on getting your pieces out. Because if your opponent's fully developed, if you're, you make one mistake, it could be the end of the game. So, hope you guys enjoy that. We'll see you next time.